And I was wondering if you drank any breast milk on the clock during that time, or if that's something that they only reserve for modern managers at Blizzard. Welcome to Between Two Perns. My name is Jackson Dickert, and I'm joined here by best-selling author of The Martian, Andy Weir.
Hello.
Or like Andy Weird.
That's good. That's good.
Thanks.
I have heard that before. I have heard that. That is a joke that's come up.
Oh,
That joke.
I felt good about that.
You felt good about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, some small percentage of people go with Andy Queer, which I appreciate because at least they put in a little effort.
Yeah.
Unlike you, who went with the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's okay though.
Andy, I just wanted to start by telling you what a huge fan of your work I am.
Oh, good. That's expected.
I can't think of a more influential story written in the 21st century than your magnum opus, Interstellar.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I didn't write that, though. That was actually someone else. I wrote The Martian.
Did you do Gravity?
No, that was another very popular science fiction story that was not written by me.
The Arrival, was that?
Yeah, sure, I wrote that one.
Okay, sick.
Cool, yeah. But we could also talk about The Martian or whatever, if you like.
Maybe.
Yeah. Whatever, time permitting.
Andy, I'd like to start with your childhood.
Okay.
You were born young, correct?
Yeah, I got an early start in life, starting right around age 0.
Okay.
I'm from a family of 3. I'm the youngest in a family of 3. Both of my parents are older than me.
Your parents, they got divorced when you were 8.
That's right, yeah.
Was that your fault?
Yes, yeah, it was. They made that clear, both to me personally and in the court documents and stuff. They were actually quite fond of each other. I just kind of drove them apart. They initially had asked if they could divorce me, but that turns out that's not a thing. You're not allowed to do that. You can't divorce your child. And if you try to leave him at an Alpha Beta grocery store repeatedly over the course of a month, the police eventually get involved and make you take him back. So they did the next best thing, which is they divorced each other so that each of them would only have to have me half the time. So it's a good way to, kind of share the burden.
Yeah, I didn't care that much. It was just my fiance, her parents divorced when she was 8 and it was her fault. So
Right.
I just didn't know if, do you think she'll be like a good writer too?
No. She's your fiance, which means clearly she makes kind of bad life decisions. And so maybe she probably shouldn't be a writer either.
Oh, okay. I'll pass the feedback from best-selling author Andy Weir on to her.
My advice to anyone who wants to write is to give up, abandon your dreams, and start thinking more along the lines of a career in retail, or maybe fast food, or slow food. You could be like a waiter or waitress, that sort of thing, or a line cook. But if you have a dream and you really think you can make it happen, just know that you will fail. And so you can skip all that unpleasantness by just going straight into service industry.
Okay, and you eventually went on to fail to graduate college.
That's a good example. I put a lot of work into not going to classes, to not studying, to not doing very well on finals, and ultimately just like not having any further interest in college. And it was a hard time for me. I spent 4 years working really hard and occasionally seeing what the classrooms looked like. There was a lot of beer that had to be taken care of, drunk.
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. My friends and I did a lot of that. So I managed to get through 4 years of that, and I proudly put on my resume, UC San Diego, computer science and engineering, Bachelor of Science program, 4 years. And I just put that exact phrase on the resume. And if people make assumptions, that's kind of their fault.
I didn't know, if it was just that authors couldn't graduate with anything but a liberal arts degree and that's why you failed, or I didn't know if you just thought I'll be a celebrity one day and they'll give me one of those participation degrees like they do sometimes?
Yeah, like in general, the people who go for liberal arts degrees tend to be on the stupider side. So they're less likely to succeed in life and they're less likely to accomplish their degree in the first place. I went for a scientific degree, but as we now know, I'm more in the liberal arts kind of world. So that probably explains why I wasn't smart enough to graduate college.
So as the University of California, San Diego, have they given you a...
They have not. They have not. Their collections department talks to me a lot, but their degree people, they don't really talk to me.
You went on to work as a software engineer for years.
Yeah.
You even worked on Warcraft 2 at Blizzard, which you described as a horrible experience.
It was terrible.
And I was wondering if you drank any breast milk on the clock during that time, or if that's something that they only reserve for modern managers at Blizzard.
They didn't have the breast milk when I was there. It was still a very new company. It was back in 1995. I don't know when the breast milk thing started, but that's I was never offered any.
I think you have to steal it from the fridge. I think that's...
Is that how that works?
Yeah.
At the time I worked there were actually no women there. So breast milk would have been kind of surprising in the fridge. Although, strictly speaking, milk is breast milk. Just the kind you get in the grocery store is breast milk. It's not from human breasts. It's from cow breasts, but it's still milk that came from a breast, right? So...
Did you just ruin milk for me?
Maybe. You don't have to drink it from the cow.
Tastes better from the tap. You wrote on the side for years while you were a software engineer, and you did a whopping 666 episodes of a bizarre webcomic where your character literally dates Satan.
Yeah.
But what I think is most interesting about this comic is that it has one of your earliest published works of science fiction in it.
Oh.
Which is the one where the alien punches the guy in the balls.
In the balls, yeah. The fan base called them alien crotch punchers. Their motivations are never really made clear. They just kind of punch people in the groin. Yeah, that was one of my earlier works. I mean, it was a little highbrow.
Does it bother you that your most boring works are praised for their scientific accuracies, but your greatest are ignored for their boldness and innovation? Is creativity dead? Is all you have to do to be a success just regurgitating the same old shit? Like The Martian is just Castaway on Mars. So do you mean to tell me that the secret to literary success is you just pick a Tom Hanks movie and you set it in space?
Yes.
Are you going to do Forrest Gump in space next, or The Terminal, or you could do Apollo 13 in space, and that would be so cool.
I could do Apollo 13 in space. Yeah, I mean, the secret to good literature is just regurgitated mass market crap. The best stories come from studio executive meeting rooms, and they come up with the best films. And then I just try to imagine I'm writing a novelization of some story that was designed by committee by a bunch of studio execs, and that's the recipe for success.
And so you gave up on becoming a professional writer after failing to get a single agent or publisher excited about your work. Mm-hmm. You serially published The Martian to your website as you wrote it until you self-published it to Amazon and saw great success, going on to sign a mid-six-figure deal with Crown Publishing and 20th Century Fox.
I don't know why more people don't do that. I mean, it really made my life a lot easier. So having #1 New York Times best-selling book, and then like this $700 million movie, profit made like that much money, has really caused me to have a lot of money. And I just don't know why more people don't do that.
Maybe they just don't realize. Like you got in early, I think, to publishing.
Well, I mean, as we've established, I'm more on the liberal arts side of things, so I'm kind of, stupid. So it's not an intellect thing. So I don't know. It just seems like I don't know. So for instance, you're in the same world as me, right? You do video entertainment or entertainment sort of, and
so we're coworkers,
kind of in a way, but you are undeniably a failure, right? And so the question is, what is it that you and I did differently? And that bears investigation and examination.
The whole point of The Martian is that it's all scientifically plausible, but then the inciting incident of the story, this vicious sandstorm on Mars, is not scientifically plausible. We're learning more and more all the time, and we believe that liquid water actually flows on the surface of Mars. And evidence for that came from the very site that your protagonist, Mark Watney, was at in the story. What steps are you now taking to hinder progress towards understanding more about Mars and space in general in order to preserve your reputation?
At this point, my reputation is pretty much ruined. So there's really no point in me attempting to hinder NASA or JPL as I've done in the past. I guess what I'm going to go for instead is sort of a spiteful, revenge-based approach. Put some bags of flaming dog poop on some doorsteps, keyed some cars at the NASA parking lot, sabotaged some of their manned missions. You know, the usual stuff you do to just kind of get the closure.
In the story, Mark Watney spends a lot of time going through everybody else's stuff. Mm-hmm. He criticizes their taste in entertainment with endless jokes about disco music, but you never find out what's on his data stick. Is it because Mark Watney has all of your good writing stored on it, and that's why you haven't written anything decent since The Martian?
Well, no, that's not why. That's not why. I don't know why I haven't written anything decent. The fact is that I just forgot that Mark Watney should have his own data stick. Oh. Remember, liberal arts,
right?
Not real smart.
Right.
I mean, you yourself,
right? I can relate.
Can relate. Yeah. So I just forgot, and so usually when people ask me about that, I just say "fuck you," which works 80% of the time.
Are you looking forward to 2037 when Mark Watney gets back and you can finally have your good stuff?
That would be nice, except that's fiction. None of the stuff in The Martian actually happened or will actually happen. So I don't want to spend a lot of time explaining that to you. So I'll just say that there's no data stick with good stuff coming. There's no good stuff coming out of me, like either spiritually or physically. There's really nothing good coming out of me.
Okay. I have a lot of follow-up questions about how it was in a documentary, but we'll keep going for now.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Do you think that you're the first person to put boob emoticons in a Hugo Award-winning novel?
No, I think The Stars Are Destination by Albert Prester also had some boob emojis in there.
Do you think?
I think it was one of the chapter titles was open parenthesis, period, Y, period, close parenthesis. Prester was a sick man.
Do you think you'll be the first one to put a penis emoticon in a Hugo Award-winning novel?
I just want to write that down.
Yeah, write that down.
Yeah, I'm going to write that down. So what do you think, like 8 equal D?
8 equal, and then space, hyphen, in parentheses.
I can see it. Because a D would be, compared to the equal signs, it would be an abnormally large glans, right?
Yeah.
And so I can see. Yeah, that makes more sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. I will credit you.
We see Mark Watney eat potatoes by heating them in the microwave.
Yeah, so it turns out I didn't come up with that. Did you know that people have actually done that before? I thought I came up with that for the book, but it turns out other people in the real world, right here on Earth, have prepared potatoes in a microwave.
Are you sure?
That's what I've been told.
Okay. Does Mark ever boil them, mash them, or stick them in a stew? Does he ever do that?
No, just the microwave. Because at the time I wrote it, I thought it was like this innovative idea that only I had ever had, and I thought that would pretty much carry the book.
And it kind of did.
Yeah, I mean the
Irish loved it.
It's the best part of the book.
Because of Watney's love-hate relationship with potatoes and his proud status of botanist, real-life Chris Martin named a new type of bush tomato after him, the Selenium Watney?
Something like that, yeah.
Have you called up Chris Martin to gently let him know that potatoes and tomatoes aren't the same thing and that this really isn't such a big honor since this just goes to show how forgettable most of the major details of The Martian are?
Can I just write that?
Yeah.
Let me just write that down.
I'm
going to add, let me just, that's good.
Was the message that you wanted readers to take away from this book that we should strand an American on Mars to improve our relationship with China?
No.
That was my takeaway. Is that wrong?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sean Bean played Mitch Henderson in the Martian movie. Will you retcon, make it canonical that his character died?
Dies, obviously. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if I'd known they were going to have Sean Bean play Mitch Henderson, I would have had him on the last page get hit by a car,
right,
or get decapitated on order of King Joffrey or something.
Yeah.
You know, but
can we make that canon now? Like after the last page, like what happens?
Yeah, I think Mitch Henderson gets hit by a car being driven by Jack Gleason.
Wow, good shot.
After The Martian, you wrote Artemis.
Yeah.
It's about a Saudi Arabian woman named Jazz who's a small-time criminal on the moon's first colony. And I only have one question for you.
Hang on, I just need to really, really ostentatiously check my watch because... Okay.
Looks like a nice watch.
It is. It's a Rolex, but I was actually just trying to point out how uninteresting this is, and I'm just kind of like really looking forward to it. But anyway, carry on.
My only question about Artemis, did anybody actually read it?
No. Millions of copies just sitting around in bookstores, didn't sell a single one. You'd think people would just buy it out of curiosity or something. But no. I took a bath on that one.
They didn't want it. It was too woke.
It was before woke was like a thing people said. But
you invented woke. With Project Hail Mary, you returned to your bread and butter, which is smart white guys in a tin can in space.
Yeah.
It's respectable. You gotta pay the bills somehow.
Well, we talked about regurgitating.
Yeah.
Regurgitate the same thing over and over again, and that works.
If you get tired of writing about space, I've actually got a great pitch for a book about a guy who builds his own submarine to go see the Titanic, and it doesn't have a happy ending.
It doesn't? No? No, cool. Like, so it just ends abruptly?
Yeah.
Just with a sudden deafening thud, it just...
You turn the page thinking the story's going to keep going, and it's blank. That's the end.
You know what would be cool?
What?
Is if you wrote that book, but then you added like 50 additional blank pages at the end. So the reader thinks, and then they're like... And they're just baffled.
I'm about to make so much money. When you were writing Project Hail Mary, you had to figure out how much energy would be produced by bashing two neutrinos together. Mm-hmm. You said that you had a difficult time finding information on that because people don't fully know the answer. However, you found the answer to your question so you could use it in a single sentence. The answer was 25.984 microns.
Well, that's the wavelength of light that is emitted by that collision.
It does seem to me that you're burning a lot of time looking for answers to pointless questions that have no real value to the book or science. So my question is, why don't you write a book about a guy with cancer in space, and all he has is 2 cans of baked beans, a spoon, and a Bunsen burner, and then by the end of the book, you've cured cancer with beans?
The assumption is that whatever I research, I will find a solution for.
Yeah, I mean, you've done it every time so far, right?
Yeah, in a fictional setting. I don't think I would be able to come up with a cure for cancer with 2 cans of baked beans and a spoon. I mean, I would need at least a fork.
As we've discussed, you've written a lot of boy books, besides the woke one. Mm-hmm. But then you recently published Cheshire Crossing, which was a graphic novel about Alice, Wendy, and Dorothy teaming up to save the multiverse from Wonderland, Neverland, and Oz. Mm-hmm. Why did you write this girl book, and when are we going back to boy books?
Well, I mean, I wrote that girl book a few years ago, so I'm already back to boy books, so don't worry.
Since you're such an expert on space and apparently gender issues, I was wondering if you could help answer a question that's on America's political forefront.
Okay.
Do boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider, or do they go to the University of California, San Diego?
Well, at least it's not San Diego State. I mean, that's where you'd really go.
Marry, kill. Bill Nye, Adam Savage, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I guess Adam Savage, because looks like he'd be the most skilled at it.
Yeah.
I'd marry Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I guess I got to kill Bill Nye.
So that way you're the smartest man in the world.
Presuming there's no one between me and Bill Nye, but yeah.
Will you ever finish your ongoing web serial titled Bonnie Mackenzie, The Life Story of a Mermaid?
I don't know. I might wander into that someday, but as it is, people end up wanting to give me a lot of money for science fiction stories. I like money. And so I kind of want to keep doing the things that get me a lot of money.
You have an interesting theory about authors that I wanted to ask you about. You've said that my theory is that every protagonist is someone the author wants to be or who the author wants to screw.
Yes.
So statistically speaking, any author with more than one book likely wants to screw one of their protagonists.
Yeah.
And since 2 of your books are about smart white dudes, I'm guessing they're the protagonists you want to be, which means that you didn't write Artemis because woke. You wrote Artemis because horny. And what's worse...
These are all reasonable assumptions, yeah.
What's worse, that means that statistically, you probably wanted to f*** the mermaid.
I hadn't thought about that, but maybe deep down inside, I just want to f*** a fish.
You have an odd history of sexual behavior online.
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the mermaid's not much of a surprise. In 2021, you did a Reddit AMA where a user named Dick Monkey asked you what inanimate object you would be if you could choose anything. You replied that you would be their mom's dildo.
Yes, yeah. I thought that was a measured response.
I was wondering if anything had changed there or if you'd still like to be Dick Monkey's mom's dildo.
Yeah, no, I still want to be Dick Monkey's mom's dildo.
I actually reached out to that user on Reddit.
Okay, cool.
And I asked them for a picture of their mom. So I just
Okay.
wanted to show you whose dildo you were. And
Yeah.
I would like you to look her in the eyes and say you would like to be her dildo.
I would like to be your dildo, Mrs. Dick Monkey. Is that really that user's?
Yeah. People on Reddit, you just got to DM
There you
them.
go.
Yeah. Will you describe this object's dimensional properties?
Flat?
Andy Weird thinks the Earth is flat.
There we go.